Hello, everybody. So much of our society defines beauty with perfection. Even in supermarkets, we've become accustomed to the elimination of the asymmetrical. And we thank people because they give us the food that is that way. We also thank people because they are able to, we also compliment people when they are able to delete their imperfections through the use of Facebook or Photoshop, makeup, Snapchat filters. But something that's amazing about COA is its ability to recognize diverse identities and diverse people. But even at COA, sometimes things pop. So I want to ask you all, who here has ever felt imperfect? And raise them proudly. Who here has ever felt the need? Who here has ever felt the need to be perfect? Who here has felt that only by being perfect could they be loved? So many of you, and myself included. And in those moments, there are two things that always remind me about the beauty of perfect imperfection. And that's pottery and my mom. So growing up, my mom noticed that I had a craving for perfection at a very young age. And so at the age of 9, she would tell me, just be. And she would tell me, break the rules, or bend them, but do it. And I wouldn't listen to her advice. And I still don't often listen to her advice. And then at the age of 15, she started changing that. And she said, you are perfectly imperfect. And I would stare at her and go, well, I mean it, Mom. How do I look right now? And she would still stick by that. And it was only through pottery that I really understood what she meant. So one day, I was taking pottery in high school, and I was trying to create a bowl or pot or a cylinder or a cup, something that would make my teacher proud. And I was bending and shaping the clay. And suddenly, if any of you take pottery, you know that the slightest slip of a finger can have drastic consequences. And so I move my finger in just slightly, and everything tumbles down into this mess, a blob. And I'm looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, this was gonna be my perfect piece. This was gonna be the thing that made my teacher proud. And the strange thing was, the more I looked at it, I started to realize, actually, I can work with this. And so I decorated it, I fired it, I glazed it, and it became this. And it became my favorite piece, and I carry it with me as a reminder, not because it's perfect, but because it has a story. It has a unique story. Recently, I talked to Rocky Man, the teacher at COA, and he's one of those people that in class is always talking about a philosophy called wabi-sabi, which is a Japanese philosophy, and it means, in his words, the belief that everything has an imperfect nature. And what he said is, what I believe is clay is more than an art, and what he said is, clay is so flexible. If it doesn't turn out the way you planned, that's okay, because you can go in another direction. Pottery was one of those things that taught me that sometimes the ideal way is not the best way, and it's definitely not the only way. And this idea of wabi-sabi is something that I see very clearly in my mom's belief in perfect imperfection. It's this idea that the quirks make us unique and make us special. And that's in so many cases, whether it's in pottery or with food, and even with people. Um, and I want to point out there is something that my old high school did that I want you to do today. It was a tradition at the end of a speech. We would have a moment of silence, a moment of reflection, and I want to bring that here today. So I want everybody to close their eyes. Go ahead. And think about something in your life that reminds you of perfect imperfection. It could be anything. It could be a tree that bent in a certain way that made you look at it completely differently. It could be a person that you love so deeply, and yet you kind of hate them, but you love them so much, and you love them so much that you hate that you love them so much. And it could be anything. So I want you to take a moment to think about the perfect imperfection in your life. Thank you.